September 27, 2010. 14-year-old Zhang Xinlan, a second-grade student in a middle school in Fushan City, Liaoning Province. What about after he comes home from school? I went to my room to do my homework. But after writing it for a while, he suddenly felt a surge in his stomach. He ran out the door in a hurry. Get down in the toilet. This time I vomited loudly. But I was retching for a long time. Didn't spit anything out. At this time, his mother Yu Xiaowan, who was cooking, saw him and asked him with concern. Why? Xiaolan. Why do I see you always feel like vomiting in the past 2 days? Did you eat something wrong? I still feel uncomfortable somewhere. Oops. Look, there's something wrong with your face. What's going on? Why tell me? But her daughter Zhang Xinlan felt powerless at this time. Also a little dizzy. He doesn't know what's wrong with him. I don't know either. I've been feeling nauseous these days. I can't bear the smell of oily smoke on my body. I feel sick. The mother listened to her daughter's description. Something seems wrong. I couldn't help but feel a little panicked in my heart. He put down the cooking utensils in his hands. He held his daughter's hand again. Ask him. When did your situation begin? I don't remember the past 2 days either. If it doesn't work, I'll take you to the hospital for a checkup. If you get sick, you have to watch it early. Yu Xiaowan took her daughter and walked out. The mother and daughter quickly arrived at the nearby people's hospital. After the doctor examined Zhang Xinlan, nothing unusual was found. For Zhang Xinlan's situation of always wanting to vomit, the doctor thinks that there is probably something wrong with the stomach. So I gave him some medicine to treat stomach problems. But after taking a few medicines, this Xinlan, the situation has not improved. And it got worse. I even almost fainted in class once. The head teacher hurriedly called Zhang Xinlan's mother. Let him take his daughter to the hospital for treatment. Yu Xiaowan took her daughter to the people's hospital again. This time he gave his daughter a comprehensive examination in the hospital. Just treat it as a ultrasound examination. When the results come out, the doctor was shocked. He hurriedly pulled Yu Xiaowan aside. Ask in a low voice. Why? Your daughter is pregnant. It's been almost 7 weeks now. Look. How is this possible? If my daughter has always been a good doctor. Not finished yet. Yu Xiaowan shouted in disbelief. Doctor, are you really right? Could it be a misdiagnosis? The doctor grimaced and shook his head. Oops. No. I saw it very clearly just now. Well, if you look at it here a few days later, the child in this belly is taking shape. Why? You parents? Only care about children's grades. I don't know how to care about the child's psychology. Today's children are very precocious. You'd better go back and have a good talk with your daughter. Maybe something happened. What are the things you don't know? Oh. Yu Xiaowan was dumbfounded. Thinking about my daughter. The symptoms at this time are indeed very similar to those in early pregnancy. Thinking of the doctor again. I couldn't help but feel angry at what I just said. My daughter must have been raped by someone. What kind of unconscionable thing did this beast do? He shed tears while thinking about it. My daughter is only 14 years old. Still a student who has just entered the 2nd grade of junior high school. Those beasts. How could she do it? Yu Xiaowan wiped her tears. I found my daughter. Daughter Zhang Xinlan looked at her mother in surprise. Mom. What's wrong with you? Why are you crying? Mom. Am I suffering from a terminal illness? No. It's not you and Mom who should go home first. Something's wrong. Mom wants to ask you, why are there so many people talking in this hospital? Yu Xiaowan doesn't want to embarrass her daughter in front of everyone. After the two people walked out of the hospital, Zhang Xinlan catches up with her mother. Mom. Tell me. What did the doctor say? What disease do I have? Lon. Tell me the truth. Mother. Have you ever had a boyfriend? Have you ever had close contact with them? Yu Xiaowan stared at her daughter with red eyes. My daughter Zhang Xinlan stared with big eyes. She didn't know what kind of medicine her mother was selling in this gourd. Mom. What do you mean? Do you suspect that I have puppy love? Oops. In fact, I have no intention of talking about a boyfriend at all. So busy studying now. I also want to take the entrance examination into a key high school. I didn't know that falling in love early would affect your studies. Say it again. Didn't I tell you before? If I find a boyfriend, I have to wait until I go to college. Why do you suddenly ask this? Oh. I listened to my daughter. Yu Xiaowan felt more and more that someone had raped her daughter. He choked and said, "It's not that Mom doesn't believe you. Mom just wants to ask you, did you let other men touch your body a month ago?" My daughter Zhang Xinlan is still confused. "No, Mom. Also, I don't even know what you mean by this. I had a pretty good relationship with a few people before. Male classmates discuss chemistry problems together. In the process of contact, everyone will inevitably touch their hands and feet. Does this count as close contact?" Yu Xiaowan. She sighed deeply. Nothing more to say. This moment, he was just thinking how to induce your daughter to reveal that bastard thing. The shit he did to her. The mother and daughter quickly returned home. At night, Yu Xiaowan told her husband about her daughter's pregnancy. Zhang Liming. The husband heard this. Suddenly furious. "What did you say? If he fucking lets me know who he is, I'll kill him for daring to bully my daughter." My mother, Lao Zhang. Don't be angry first. You have to find a way to get your daughter to tell her about that. Let's move on to the next step. No matter who that person is, let's all send him to jail. Zhang Liming frowned, feeling sad inside. After dinner, he had another in-depth communication with his daughter. When asking my daughter if anyone bullied her, my daughter answered very simply. Explain. No. The couple couldn't find out what happened from their daughter's mouth and were very unwilling to do so. Yu Xiaowan just thought about it over and over again. Decided to get to know my daughter from her friends. I asked several of my daughter's classmates, but no one asked anything. The couple felt that it was very possible that their daughter had been intimidated by that person. So in anger, he took his daughter to the nearby police station to report the crime. Until this time, only then did her daughter Zhang Xinlan know that she was pregnant. She couldn't believe it. I kept asking my mother if the results from the hospital were true, because she has never had close contact with any man. And there is no villain that her parents suspected of raping her. The police don't know. The police take this case of raping a female student very seriously. In addition, the client Zhang Xinlan was summoned repeatedly in the case that led to her pregnancy. In order to express her innocence, the little girl Zhang Xinlan, also crying and hitting the wall. "Tell me, you don't even know what a man's body structure is like." She doesn't even know. The task force in charge of the case believed that the girl was probably drugged at the time. In other words, she had no idea what happened at the time of the incident. That's why I don't know everything about it. So the police on the task force suggested that Yu Xiaowan take her daughter for an abortion and forensic identification of stillbirths. On the other hand, Zhang Xinlan's diary was found for verification. In the process of verifying Zhang Xinlan's diary, they saw that between August 2010 and October 2010, 3 men had contact with her. This first man is the girl's cousin-in-law, Chen Yadong. The second person is Qian Hua, the girl's physical education teacher. The third person is the girl's classmate Liu Yutong. These 3 men all had the time and conditions to commit the crime. So the task force summoned 3 people in turn. But all 3 people denied it. And everyone swears to God that they are innocent. Never done any sin. If you tell a lie, there will be thunder and lightning. But swearing in front of the police won't work. What the police care about is evidence. The police, who were already in trouble at this time, decided to analyze the blood samples of 3 people and conduct DNA testing on the blood samples preserved from the stillborn fetus. Once the biological father of the fetus is found, he will be held criminally responsible based on this evidence. March 19, 2011. Under the supervision of the forensic doctor of the Public Security Bureau at the scene, the girl Zhang Xinlan underwent artificial induction of labor. The investigation technicians carefully extracted the fetal hair and tissue sections and preserved alive. At the same time, 3 suspects were extracted separately. Chen Yadong. Blood samples of Qianhua and Liu Yutong. And it will be sent to the testing agency of Shenyang Provincial Public Security Department by a dedicated person for testing. Everyone at this time is anxiously waiting for the test results. Chen Yadong's wife Li Xiao. She believed with full confidence that this matter has absolutely nothing to do with my husband. She knows very well what kind of person her husband is. But Chin Yadong was from August 2010 to October 2010. One of the men who had contact with the girl Zhang Xinlan. Although he is the girl's cousin-in-law. But as long as there is doubt, the police have to investigate. Chin Yadong was born in a remote mountain village in the eastern mountains of Jilin. I have been studying very hard since I was a child. After graduating from high school, he also passed the Northeast Normal University with excellent results. During college, he is also a good student with excellent academic performance. After graduating from university, he was assigned to a middle school in Fushan City. Served as a Chinese teacher. Because the work is positive. In addition, he is honest and upright. After these 2 years, he was promoted again. Became the vice principal of a central primary school. At this time, after being introduced by a matchmaker, I met Li Xiao, who works in a credit union, and talked about love. Li Xiao thinks Chen Yadong is a responsible person, and he is also sincere and upright. The two also fell in love after 2 years of dating. The wedding was held in 2010. Let's talk about this stage. Chen Yadong and his wife are still in the newlywed stage. It's unlikely that he would do anything outrageous. Another important point is that the girl Zhang Xinlan is Li Zhao's cousin. The relationship between their cousins is very good. It can be said that they are better than biological sisters. Chen Yadong as her cousin-in-law. It's even less possible for him to do such a shameful thing. To say that two people have been in contact. That's totally normal. Because this little girl Zhang Xinlan has loved sports since she was a child. Won the singles runner-up in the city's primary school table tennis competition. Recently, he won the first place in the composition contest. The whole family likes this little girl very much. Therefore, the two families, who are cousins, move around frequently. That's normal too. Moreover, Chen Yadong often tutors Zhang Xinlan and has contact with her. It is also inevitable. Just when Li Xiao firmly believed that her husband was definitely not the murderer, a bolt from the blue hit her head and face. The document from the Provincial Public Security Department Testing Center shows the DNA test results, excluding the blood relationship between the other two people and the fetus. Only Li Zhao's husband Chen Yadong is a girl. Zhang Xinlan's baby boy. The frequency of biological father is as high as 99.99%. In short, he is the biological father of the dead baby. No. Li Xiao. She firmly does not believe this result. This is impossible. My husband is not like that. He is not a rapist. Faced with overwhelming evidence, even the person involved, Chen Yadong, found it incredible. No. How is this possible? I really have not offended Xiaolin. However, the Wanghua District People's Procuratorate immediately relied on this certificate too. A public prosecution was launched against Chen Yadong. Chen Yadong was very emotional in court. He retorted loudly. I have never raped Zhang Xinlan. I don't know the results of your test. How did it come about? I refuse to plead guilty to rape. Things I haven't done. I will never admit it. But, although Chen Yadong has been crying for himself, but the court finally sentenced him. Because when this case occurred, the victim, Zhang Xinlan, was under the age of 14 and Chen Yadong was guilty of rape of an underage girl. Sentenced to 7 years in prison according to law. When Chen Yadong was taken away, he still refuses to admit that he committed rape. And his wife Li Xiao cried hoarsely and rushed forward. But after being held tightly by someone, the victim girl Zhang Xinlan and her family were also ridiculed by the neighbors. The girl's father Zhang Liming cannot bear the ridicule. Trembling with anger, after returning home, he stayed behind closed doors. Chen Yadong refused to accept the verdict. Immediately filed an appeal. He wrote to his wife. In addition to proving his innocence, he also recalled in detail the days when his cousin had an accident. What one does. After Li Xiao received the letter, it also helped me recall that time. From June 2010 to August 2010. Her husband, Chen Yadong, has been the principal who attends off-campus. During the training course, her cousin also stayed at their house. The police found out that on the night of August 23rd, Chen Yadong went home and stayed for one night. And Li Zhao's cousin Zhang Xinlan was also at their house that night. Therefore, the police suspected that what happened that night. But Li Xiao said, "The evening of August 23rd. My husband did come home. I remember that night very clearly. He came back on the last night train. When returning home, it's already past 10 o'clock. I married him not long ago. He said he missed me so much during his business trip. Just find a time when you're not busy to come back and see me." That night. Originally, Xiaolin and I both fell asleep. But after he comes back, we got up immediately. I made him a midnight snack. Xiaolin went to sleep in the small bedroom. It was past 11 o'clock when my husband and I finished eating. Goodbye is better than newlyweds. I'm done cleaning up. We both went to bed. We were both together that night. I barely slept. And nothing happened to him at all. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning. My husband was anxious to get up and said, "Yes. Have to catch the earliest bus. Go back to the training center in Shenyang." If what Li Xiao said is true, then Qin Yadong really doesn't have time to run next door to find his cousin. Unless Li Xiao fell asleep at a certain time. Qin Yadong quietly got up and went to the next door. But if he does go next door, then it is impossible for Zhang Xinlan to remain silent. What he shouted, Li Xiao must be able to hear it. One more thing. Most women cannot tolerate their husband's cheating behavior. If Qin Yadong is really cheating and raping, Li Xiao will never defend him. Unless there's something wrong with this brain. At the same time, this strange rape case completely destroyed the life of the girl Zhang Xinlan. She doesn't want to go back to school. Afraid of seeing strange looks and concerns from classmates. She held it in for several days at home, begging her parents to transfer her to another school. Her parents don't want to face the strange looks from the neighbors anymore. So the two of them discussed it. "I took my daughter to live in another city. Let's talk about this side." Although Li Xiao doesn't believe that her husband is so dirty, right? However, the identification results cannot be faked. He still can't figure it out. What on earth is going on? After he suffered at home for a while, I heard a lot of rumors again. Some people even pointed fingers at him. People's words are terrible. What people don't know about themselves. He always likes to make random guesses and give wings to your imagination. Add fuel to their speculations. In the end, these rumors became one after another. As the saying goes, shoot and hide. Hard to guard against hidden arrows. Many people were not injured by gunfire, but a stab in the back. Li Xiao is no exception. In the long wait, he gradually developed schizophrenia. Finally divorced Qin Yadong. At this moment, Qin Yadong, who is imprisoned, he also refused to plead guilty. He also delivered the complaint materials one by one. Although every portion is lost in the ocean. But he will never give up. Criminals in the same cell. I heard he is a rapist. And also raped his cousin. Even more dismissive of him. Bully him often. Usually, he is even more sarcastic towards him. Qin Yadong doesn't care about these things. And what makes him saddest is that 1 year later, his father-in-law Li Liang brought a divorce agreement. Asked him to sign. And told him that Li Xiao was no longer prepared to wait for him. Think about it, I still have 6 years in prison. Qin Yadong signed the divorce agreement with tears in his eyes. Qin Yadong at that moment. He felt very desperate. In the end, he was not going to appeal anymore. Because the faith underpinning his appeal has collapsed. In the winter of 2013, people from his hometown suddenly came to visit him in prison. Brought him even sadder news. A fellow villager said that, "Where is your mother? Died some time ago." The old man only left 3 last words before his death. He said, "I firmly believe that my son has not committed any crime. Let him live well. Don't think nonsense. Try every means possible to clear yourself of your grievances." The fellow has not finished speaking yet. Qin Yadong was already in tears. "My mother's last words shocked me deeply. He knows that he can't just sink like this. He wants to fight against fate. Because he clearly remembers. I have never done anything immoral at all." After hearing the news from my hometown folks, Qin Xiaodong's heart also became firmer. So Qin Yadong found a lot of legal books. Try to figure it out carefully. Now he also understands the blind appeal certificate. That's useless. He finally saw it. Want to overturn this case completely. only by relying on the law can we save ourselves. That's all. After Qin Yadong studied for a period of time, he appealed to the court again. He believes that there are 3 doubtful points in the case that have not been clarified. The identification of the first parent only proves that the biological father of the fetus conceived by Zhang Xinlan is him. But it cannot be proven that he raped Zhang Xinlan. Second, if he is a rapist, well, the specific time and place of this case, as well as the method of the crime, must be evidenced. But there is no record in the file. Third, the paternity test is the only evidence in this case. If it is used to convict someone, it would go against scientific principles. However, even though Qin Yadong was justified, the court still rejected his complaint. Until 2017, Qin Yadong was released from prison early due to his good behavior in prison. At this time, Qin Yadong, who had regained his freedom, became even more determined to clear his grievances and fight for his case. However, if he wants to reverse the case, the only person who can help him may be the victim Zhang Xinlan. After Qin Yadong visited and investigated again, it was found that Zhang Xinlan's family had moved to Shenyang, and Zhang Xinlan was now a second-year student at a University of Science and Technology in Shenyang. So he rushed to a Science and Technology University in Shenyang and found Zhang Xinlan. 6 years later, Zhang Xinlan has grown into a beautiful girl. But when he saw the enemy appearing in front of him, he suddenly screamed like a lightning strike, turned around and ran away. Of course, this enemy is in quotation marks. In desperation, Qin Yadong had no choice but to leave Shenyang and decided to go to Beijing to petition. But he traveled to so many places, and people asked him to provide new evidence to prove his innocence, but he didn't know what evidence could be used to prove it. However, someone named Hao later came to the rescue and gave him advice. He went to the Institute of Biology, Chinese Academy of Sciences, where a female doctor named Lin received him. After listening to his story, Dr. Lin said that the only way for female reproduction to conceive is the combination of sperm and egg, but this does not mean that sexual intercourse is necessary. According to scientific tests, an adult man can produce 100 million sperm a day. After they are excreted from the body, they can live for 3 days and swim up to several kilometers. At this time, if a woman accidentally met him, how could she possibly get an unintended pregnancy? According to statistics, there are several incidents of pregnancy without intercourse like this across the country almost every year. Ah, indeed. I heard a news a few years ago about a girl who got pregnant not long after she came back from swimming in a public swimming pool. Of course, this chance is extremely small, smaller than winning the lottery. But it still exists. So from this point of view, Zhang Xinlan must also fall into this situation of getting pregnant without having sex. But what is the specific situation? Zhang Xinlan himself needs to recall the specific situation of that year. Dr. Lin's words were like a bolt of lightning in the dark night, making Qin Yadong's heart brighten. But in the end, if he wanted to prove his innocence, Qin Yadong still had to find Zhang Xinlan and ask him to do this for him. After returning to Fushun, Qin Yadong wrote an email to Zhang Xinlan in tears, telling Zhang Xinlan about his miserable life in recent years and hoping that Zhang Xinlan, who had grown up, could put the situation in his home where he had returned from the training center 7 years ago into a better place. Recall it again. Because her unexpected pregnancy could only have happened that night. As for Zhang Xinlan, he also carefully read the email sent by Qin Yadong. Every line of his words was extremely sincere. After reading it, he couldn't help but burst into tears. In fact, he vaguely felt that his brother-in-law was innocent, but he was young and did not understand the affairs of men and women at all. Coupled with the pregnancy, it was a huge blow to him, and the paternity test also proved that the child he was carrying was actually it really belonged to his brother-in-law, and he hated this brother-in-law very much. Until he grew up and understood the matter of men and women, he also felt very strange when he thought about his pregnancy. It was obvious that his brother-in-law had done nothing to him, but why was he pregnant with his child? This question has been lingering in his mind for many years. At this moment, after seeing the letter from her brother-in-law, Zhang Xinlan decided to recall what happened that night. This is not only to clear the brother-in-law's name, but also to clear one's mind. At the same time, it also needs to resolve the doubts from back then. On the night of August 23, 2010, Qin Yadong couldn't wait for the last bus back home. This was the first time since he got married that he had been away from his wife for such a long time. This was very difficult physically. Even if it was only half a night, he would come back to reunite with his wife and have a moment of tenderness. So when Qin Yadong finished his supper, it was almost 11 o'clock at night. Although Zhang Xinlan was a child, he was also very sensible. After his brother-in-law came home, he moved into the small room next door and slept. However, the noise made by his sister and brother-in-law next door was a bit loud and affected him a lot, and he hardly slept well. Early the next morning, after Qin Yadong left, Zhang Xinlan returned to the master bedroom and got into his cousin's bed again. He was surprised that his cousin was sleeping naked. He thought it was very interesting, so he made fun of him, so the two personally made a fuss. There must have been physical contact during the quarrel. Just like this, a month later, Zhang Xinlan fell ill for no apparent reason. The next thing that happened was that the brother-in-law raped the sister-in-law. Recalling the events of that day, Zhang Xinlan suddenly understood why she was pregnant. He also understood clearly that her brother-in-law was really wronged. But if he wanted to prove his brother-in-law's grievances, his own scars had to be opened. However, after thinking about it, he decided to help his brother-in-law to clear his name, even if he was gossiped about by the world again, otherwise, his conscience would be uneasy for the rest of his life. Zhang Xinlan quickly replied to Chen Yadong. The two made an appointment and went to Fushan together, the hospital where Zhang Xinlan had been examined. They also found the doctor at that time. Dr. Wang also found Zhang Xinlan's medical records from Dr. Wang. After flipping through the original diagnosis sheet of the case, they saw new evidence. There is a question written on the top of this pillow sheet. What does this doubtful word mean? Dr. Wang said. It's like this. Back then, when I was checking Miss Xiaolan's body, I discovered that her vagina did not have any habitual bruises caused by sexual intercourse. That is to say, at that time, Xiaolan's hymen was intact. So I wrote a question on the diagnosis sheet on this page. That means it is very possible that my bodily fluids were transmitted to Xiaolan through my wife's contact. This resulted in her unexpected pregnancy. Qin Yadong asked. Dr. Wang nodded. Right. That should be it. This may sound weird, but this is the fact. At the end of 2017, Qin Yadong took all the evidence collected. With the support of Zhang Xinlan, the complaint was filed again with the Liaoning Provincial Higher People's Court. The local Intermediate People's Court retried the case. Qin Yadong finally ushered in his own dawn. In May 2018, the court legally revoked the final verdict against him on the rape charge. As for the relevant departments, compensation work has also been carried out one after another. Qin Yadong himself was also restored to his original position. The ending is quite satisfying. Why? This case does sound incredible. But it really happened.